It's Dynasty Week on the Sonic Truth Podcast, the Dynasty-focused podcast on the Player Profiler Network. I'm Alan Cislowski of RotoWire.com, along with Theo Grebinger, and as usual, the Podfather. Special guest today, Matty Kiwoom. You know him from all of the Player Profiler, millions of shows that he's appearing on. But today, guys, we have a couple great special guests. I don't know. We'll see how special they are, how good they, how well they do on the draft. But we're starting with Derek Brown. Everybody knows Derek Brown from the Fantasy Pros. You follow him on Twitter, as we do, Dbro_FFB. How the hell did they talk you into this in the middle of the day, Derek?
I don't know. I know it's kind of like the whole gif. Like right when I feel like I'm out, they pull me back in, baby. But I'm happy to be here, man. Anytime I can do a show with any of you guys, it's a fantastic day. Like I said before, I just block off about 3 or 4 hours just to make sure I'm good.
Yeah, we'll see if he's saying that in a little while. And that was a beautiful Godfather 3 callback there. Joining us is Pat Fitzmaurice. You follow him at Fitz_FF. You may know him from the Fantasy Pros. But Pat, I know you from your appearances on the little-known but amazing podcast, the Breakfast Table Podcast with Mike and Scott. Always good to see you on there. I'll ask you the same question. Because you look like you're making one of those hostage videos right now where they're forcing you to say things, and they say, denounce America.
Oh, man. Well, let's see, Alan. I know Fantasy Pros productivity is at low ebb right now with Dbro and I both on the show. But, good that you get us as a tag team. We're like the Wild Samoans or the Road Warriors coming in here to wreak some havoc. So
I like that one. That's
really looking forward to this.
All right, Podfather, set us up here. What are we doing today? It's Dynasty Week, so I'm thinking this is a Dynasty draft?
Yes, Dynasty Week. We decided arbitrarily this would be Dynasty Week, and then we realized that in the middle of Dynasty Week is Flag Day, and no one cares about Flag Day. It's like, why is this a day? What? And then we're like, wait a second. We do like to plant flags. Right, we're planting flags here. I just recorded a video about Rachaad White, a workhorse back you can get in the 7th, 8th, sometime 9th round, and that's where my flag is planted. Absolutely. So I showed the golf course. I had literal flags. I take these things very literally. Player Profiler. We are leaning into Dynasty even more than ever. Theo Grebinger has about 17,000 fantasy teams, and half of them are Dynasty. And he said we need to have a whole week that's just done, and that's what we're doing. It's before seasonal leagues really kick off. It's best ball has been going on for the draft happened, and a bunch of rookie drafts are happening now. A bunch of people have finished rookie drafts, and they're thinking, man, I think I need to be in another Dynasty league. And so there's a lot of startups happening right now. So we just figured it out, man. This is Dynasty Week.
Yeah, and the whole play on Shark Week, I think that's clever as well. So let me set the stage here, guys. All right, we're going to do a Superflex tight end premium Dynasty startup draft. Now, there's only 6 of us, so we're not building teams for a 6-man league, because isn't that almost like a cliche joke, right, Pat, at this time? Like, what are you in a 6-man league, bro? Come on. I mean, we are just pay attention to the draft order. That's the actionable takeaway for you guys right here. But before we do that, we'll tell you the draft order real quick. It's going to be Podfather at 1, Pat at 2, Derek 3, Theo 4, Matty 5. I will pick on the tail here. But before that, a word from our sponsors and friends over at the FFPC.
People always ask me, hey, what is the World Series of fantasy or the Super Bowl of fantasy football? And it's easy. It's the FFPC, the Fantasy Football Players Championship. It's a $6 million prize pool. And they've had their Never Too Early Best Ball leagues cranking since February. And so the FFPC is the answer to so many questions. Hey, where's the best place to get a Dynasty Orphan? Well, you can adopt a Dynasty Orphan at the FFPC. That's why we partner with them. If you want to play fantasy football for low, medium, high stakes, seasonal, best ball, Dynasty, go to the FFPC. And don't forget, promo code Underworld to get you $25 off your first team. $25 off your first team, no matter what team it is, no matter what format it is, at the FFPC. Go do it.
All right, here we go. We're going to not make you wait any longer, guys. I just got a quick question. Theo, real quick, if you could see in a crystal ball any player's stats at the end of the season, only you would know who it is. What player would you want to know their final stat line for?
From a super flex mentality, I'll say Deshaun Watson, because
Good
I think
one.
he's very interesting. Does he continue playing mediocre football, or does he return back to a near elite level? And I think he's a difficult player to gauge in dynasty superflex startups, because you want to chase previous season's production, or do you say, the most recent thing is what we actually have? So it would be Deshaun Watson for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. He's a mystery. All right, Podfather, you have pick 1.1 in our Dynasty Superflex drafts. You're on the clock. OTC, bro. OTC. Tag. OTC.
I really should just the chalk pick would be Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the pick here. I mean, yeah, you got to go Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is an MVP. He's going to win more MVPs. He's a champion. He's the most accurate passer to all quadrants. He can carry a team with or without Tyreek Hill. It doesn't matter. He's receiver proof. He's offensive line proof. He's defense proof. He's coach proof. He's everything proof. So I think that the pick has to be one Patrick Mahomes.
All right, Patrick Mahomes is the pick. So Patrick Fitzmaurice is up.
Wait a second. No, I was supposed to do I'm trying to pick him. Why can't I pick?
Have we started the draft?
That's me.
I can't pick.
Hold on. I have to start the draft.
I'm trying to pick
Can't
him.
even get through pick one.
Here we
I'm
go.
on the clock. I'm going Patrick. Every 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Patrick Mahomes. Just kidding. It's Jalen Hurts, baby. No! Oh, get out of here. It's
Oh,
Mahomes,
no.
baby. Konami, man. Oh, come on. How could it not be Hurts?
You took my Pat gets a gift.
Love it.
Gets
Love
a
it.
gift, Pat.
Yeah, well, here I was preparing my reasoning for taking Jalen Hurts at number 2 ahead of some of the other quarterbacks. And, I guess the Podfather lifted that responsibility from me. So, I guess I'll wind up taking Patrick Mahomes here.
Why were you going to take Hurts, though? Just if I give the reason for Mahomes, you can go ahead and give the reason for Hurts.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to take him over Mahomes, but at 24, younger than Josh Allen, really liked the improvements we saw from him as a passer last season, and the ecosystem he has is just terrific with the great offensive line, plenty of pass catching firepower, just a really good system. So I do feel good about Hurts at number 2, but man, I got to go with the king now that you've left him on the table for me, Matt Kelly. I'm taking Mahomes at number 2.
Pat, though, if somebody did this in your $1,000 startup here, I mean, took Jalen Hurts, is it totally egregious that they would take Hurts over Mahomes, or is there? Can you see the merit in it? Be honest. Give it to him good here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Mahomes guy. Like, I think he's pretty foolproof, barring any sort of catastrophic injury. I just know that you're getting a prolific passing output from him every year.
All right. I thought I was going to be the guy with the best beard, but there's 2 that are a lot better than mine in this draft. D. Brown, you are up, pick number 3 in this Dynasty Superflex Startup Draft.
It took literally 30 seconds for Matt Kelly to tilt me. I was sitting here. I had it queued up. I had Jalen Hurts ready to go. I was going to make this long spiel about if he didn't go number 2, how y'all were gifting me in number 3, and all that got shot to hell. Thanks, Matt. Love you too. So now I guess I'm just going to go with the chalk pick. I'm just going to go Josh Allen. Why does it feel boring here? But it does.
D. Brown, are these 3 a tier? And if they go in any order, you may not like that order, but give anyone in a Superflex draft permission to take these guys in the order they see fit.
Yep. I mean, I think you're looking at the top tier. I actually have Joe Burrow in that tier too, which could surprise some people. He doesn't have the mobility and stuff, but if we're putting Patty Mahomes up there because of the passing rates and the touchdowns and stuff, I'll put Joe Burrow up there. And I think, yeah, you could take these guys in any order. Like, I've got Hurts as my QB2 in Superflex.
Podfather, what's the penalty for table talk right now?
There's no penalty. This is a fake draft.
Mentioning Joe Burrow in this
fantasy football is fake.
Theo,
It's a fake sport, which is basically based on a game. So it's a fake game based on another game, and this is a fake draft for a fake game based on another game.
I wanted, defend.
Alan, are you scared? Like you're trying to get me penalized, like knocked down a few rounds so my picks
And Alan's
worse?
trying to
Like,
penalize
what is
people
this?
for this.
What is this?
1 Bitcoin per entry for this draft. I thought that was what we were talking.
The winner of this draft actually gets a all expenses paid invitation back to this draft in 2024. I guarantee
they're gonna
I
tank
guarantee
on
it.
purpose. Then they
There
don't
you
want to
go.
sit through this.
There you
nonsense.
go. So I think that you kind of nailed it. I think that the top three are their own tier, and then I think Joe Burrow is kind of in his own mini tier. He's fantastic. I just prefer the other three. And a shout out to Pat, who did the world famous draft kit entry on Joe Burrow this year and did a fantastic job with it. So I'm gonna easily take Joe Burrow here. I think this is like the last like kind of no brainer before people actually have to think in a Superflex startup.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him go for pretty much in every draft. How about you, Pat? In your drafts, you've dynasty startups, the ADP you're looking at. This is the 1 through 4 in this order.
Yes, I agree. Well, I mean, Mahomes ahead of Hurts, but then Allen for me, and then Burrow. Sorry, I just had to lash out at the Podfather while I could there.
Well, we're gonna get you to really take a dump on the Podfather at some point. That's why I'm poking you here with the stick. Maddie, you're up at pick number 5.
So I do agree with you, boys. This is a tier break here after Burrow. But I'm going to go with someone who I think has a lot of ceiling left. And when you look at his profile from 2022, there is some positive touchdown regression coming his way. Give me Turbo Justin Herbert here at the 105. Number 1 in money throws, got a new offensive coordinator. Last year, he only had 147 rushing yards and zero rushing touchdowns. I think that goes up. He's had 8 over his first 2 years. So that injury played a lot into it. So I think Herbert's going to have a big 2023. Give him, let me get Herbert here.
That's, and that's definitely, again, I hate to use the word chalk because it's not negative in any way, but I think that's what it is. Guys, here, I usually see Trevor Lawrence going here, and that's why in the couple startups I've had, I've tried to trade back because Lamar Jackson has all the things that we like, right? The contract insulation, and a lot of people could be feeling silly if they don't take him here. I'm going to take Lawrence because it feels safer, but I know that is the gutless, most coward pick you could do when Lamar, we've already seen him be the QB1. So I will take, not that it matters because I get the 2 picks here.
I was going to say, good news, Alan. You get to pick again.
Well, it's not really me. It's another person picking there.
It's multiverse Allen number 2.
And, I mean, you guys have been in these drafts. Lamar Jackson doesn't even go in that spot. I mean, he was falling. So I won't belabor. We discussed them both. Podfather, you agree, though, that those 2 guys should be the next 2, or do you think Lamar is a little bit more risky at that point?
It's how our dynasty rankings are set up for Superflex, 1 through 7. It's all quarterback, and it's pretty much in this order. We're looking at the right order. The big debate really between what we've drafted today and what is the chalk is Mahomes versus Hurts. I think that's a conversation. I know the conversation is supposed to be Hurts versus Allen. I think that's gone. I think it's now Mahomes Hurts, and then you're right. Lawrence Jackson. Do you want a little bit more win now juice, a little bit more high risk, high reward in Lamar Jackson, or are you trying to just go super cornerstone young player with Trevor Lawrence? Now things officially get interesting.
What do you think about the we did have a comment. I love this one, that watching people mock draft is the worst content possible. It's boring. So what's worse than that, Pat, is someone commenting on someone making...
What are you doing here?
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, like I understand his point. Like mock drafts, better to be participating than watching a mock draft. But if the conversation around the players is interesting, then I think mock drafts have value. So I guess I'd put some pressure on us to actually create some interesting conversation here and make it worthwhile.
I think that we've made this very entertaining so far. We have 2 jobs: inform and entertain. That's it. We've already informed. Maddie was dropping, money throws, number 1 for Justin Herbert right there. Boom. And that's the information, right? So great stat. And then we have the entertainment of me going Hurts. I think that was pretty fun. I had fun.
Yeah. I love that.
I think the audience had fun. The audience enjoyed it.
We're going to keep selling them. Keep selling them. Maddie, you're up on the next pick.
C. Lewis can just, I mean, he can go to hell.
C. Lewis, he must have missed the best misdirect in podcast mock draft history. I mean,
it was a great
spiel
misdirect
from Mahomes, and then the if the
why didn't he just turn the show off if he saw it was a mock draft? Turn the show off instead of starting to comment. All right, so already, who's the sucker?
Somebody didn't give C. Lewis the memo that it's Dynasty Week, and this is going to be all week long, fellas.
It's not like we just do mock drafts on the Sonic Truth Podcast. No, we don't. We stuff the Sonic Truth Podcast with in-depth information and it's some funny stories from Alan for an hour and a half every week. We don't fall back on mock drafting like a lot of other Dynasty shows. Oh, no. But once every few months, we do a fun mock draft. Maybe it's Dynasty Week. Maybe he has some friends in town, like Pat Fitzmaurice and Mr. D. Brown himself. So, yes, this is what we're doing today.
Pat, remember I said an hour 18? Make that an hour 38 now. Just so you know. Maddie, you're up.
So you asked OG earlier in the show who he would love to see these genie stats early. My pick would be Justin Fields because if there is some, accuracy improvements and some passing improvements, he's a lock here at the end of the QB run. But I'm going to go ahead and buck our dynasty ranks, and I will take my another quarterback in Justin Fields.
So for me, this is the part of the draft where I'm considering going away from quarterback, and I'm going to do that right here. I'm going to take Justin Jefferson. I think that 24 years old, despite the fact that super flex draft, we've seen him have 184 targets. We've seen him have 167 targets in back-to-back seasons. I think this year he goes over 200 targets as the Minnesota Vikings get even more pass happy. And he's the kind of guy that, even though it's super flex, I think he's foundational enough that you can, punt QB for a little bit and just happily take, one of the two best wide receivers in football.
Derek, is this the same point that you would agree here, that this is the pivot away from QB spot, or are you pushing up any of the other ones?
No, I mean, for me, in my ranks, I've got 8 QBs to start Superflex ranks, and then you've got Justin Jefferson. Actually, I'm going to take my wide receiver one in Dynasty right now, and I'm going to go with Jahmyr Chase.
There we go.
And
there we go.
These guys are in their own tier. These guys are in their own
Boo me
tier.
for Justin Jefferson.
I am, because I don't have to worry about Kirk Cousins moving on and who's going to be the quarterback. I know it's going to be Burrow next year, so that's why he is the wide receiver one in Dynasty over Jefferson.
We have him as the wide receiver one on our ranks as well.
And there you go.
And I think it's incredibly flat between the two of them. I think they're right there. They're the 1-2 in non-super flex startup for me.
Let me ask you this, D. Brown: if Patrick Mahomes was somehow traded to the Vikings, would that flip your rankings, or you would still stay with Chase? I'm just making the quarterback argument. That's all.
I mean, I would stay with Jefferson on that.
Okay, that's all. So it's a quarterback-related argument, which I think we all could buy. Pat, you're up.
I'm still rattled from that hypothetical about Mahomes to the Vikings. I'm a Packers fan. I hate the Vikings, so that would just crush me. But I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson here. And generally, I prefer to go with more of a wide receiver heavy build to start. And I tend to fade running backs a little bit in redraft. But I just think he's the top guy left at this point. And, we're getting maybe the best running back prospect to come into the league since Saquon Barkley. Coming in, has his whole career ahead of him, and pretty much showed that he was a do-it-all guy at Texas. I mean, everything. Runs inside, runs outside, has pass-catching chops, speed, vision, elusiveness, the total package. So, I probably won't wind up taking another running back for a very long time after this, but starting the running back stable with Bijan feels pretty good.
Yeah, especially
Congrats, Pat. Congrats.
Thank you, Matt.
This was Alan's number one overall pick in our non-Superflex Dynasty startup.
And the reason is because people say that, the wide receivers last longer. I think that, this, Pat and Derek and everybody, that we can only project Dynasty maybe 2 seasons out. I think that we know that Bijan Robinson is going to be a top 10 running back for 5 years because of the length of that contract. So he has the stability of the wide receivers. That's the only reason. I like starting my team with a running back, so I want to defend myself before I get shit on here. All right, Matt Kelly for 2.
Okay. Okay, we have Hurts, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Herbert, Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Justin Jefferson, Ja'Marr Chase, Bijan Robinson, Pat, Bijan Robinson.
Paging Bijan Robinson.
You got to make your pick, Pat.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Can't make a pick
push
until
the button.
Pat
Sorry about that.
Oh,
Bingo,
bad.
bingo. Now. I gotta tell you something. I'm in another startup right now. We have a Dynasty Week staff Dynasty startup, a single quarterback. It's the only single quarterback league I'm gonna even be in this year, but I wanted to do it just because it's a little more accessible to everybody, and we're sharing a lot of these picks. It's great. And I noticed there was a trade in the first round, and the trade was executed by one Matty Kiwoom. And Matty Kiwoom did something incredible. He was on the clock, and then he traded for the pick ahead of him. Have you ever seen that, Theo? You ever done that in the first
it was
round,
actually
Theo?
the pick behind me, just to be fair. It was one
I
behind
don't
me.
No, it's a better story if I say it this way, Matt.
Okay. It was he has it right.
Yes, I've seen.
It's the pick ahead of you. The pick
It's
ahead.
pick
of you.
ahead. That's
what I meant. That's what I was saying.
I have seen that before in startups. You see some interesting things go down in the startup streets in terms of moving around. Matty Kiwoom's a sharp guy. He's gonna extract value wherever he's drafting.
But okay, I thought he was trading his pick. Right, he's been on the clock for over an hour. Right, I'm assuming there's trade talks going on in the chat, or there's at least talk of talk, right? And so it seems like there's some trade talks percolating. So I'm assuming he's dealing his pick. I'm assuming he's trading back. So the guy on the clock ends up trading for the pick just after him. So now he's got 2 picks in a row. And I'm like, well, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
This is a surprise. This is a treat. I don't normally get the shocked by the activity that happens in the first round of a dynasty startup. It's usually like this one, pretty damn chalky, right?
Yeah.
This motherfucker.
Yeah, I was. You know what
This is a
happened?
one quarterback league. This one he was drafting at the 108 or the 109.
Yep. 108. Yep.
He was at the 108, and he double taps Hurts AJ Brown. That's why he did that. He's like, I really want Hurts and I really want AJ Brown. I really want to stack them, but I need another pick. How do I do that? I'm going to trade up right here. So that is just Valhalla in the first round. To leave the first round with a stack in a dynasty startup is just pinch yourself. Like that is sex, right? And the beauty of being at the 112 this year, like this is the best year to have the 112 in a dynasty startup. The best year to have a 112. Okay? Because you can do some very sexy things. Very, very sexy things. Can you guys think of the sexy thing that I'm going to do? And I'm going to do something similar to what Matt did, but I don't have to do any trading. That's the beauty. We're going to go bing, and then we're going to go boom.
You know, this is why. Go ahead, Pat. Go ahead. Jump
Dak
in.
Prescott, CeeDee Lamb.
I was going to say this is why CeeDee Lamb's ADP has been, quote, artificially pushed up because of the ability to stack. Is Pat, overrated, underrated, stacking in Dynasty?
Oh, properly rated, assuming it's a desirable thing, I think.
Underrated.
So,
by the way,
yeah,
I have
would-
the sunglasses for the next because we're different characters. So I'm 101 guy with no sunglasses. My 112 guy has sunglasses.
And shout out to Zhu Yang in the chat, who's criticizing my lack of a stack with Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson. These are technically
Different
two
teams.
Theos. These are different teams.
Right. It's Theo and
Right,
Theo
I know.
too.
That's why I wanted to talk to Zoo to let him know, hey, buddy, don't Theo's technically a second team, but I also get his criticism because sometimes I just like to pretend that they're all. But for what I just did, it was basically I had one team drafting at the 101, another team drafting at the 112. That's one way to think about what we're doing with a 6-man mock. Either way, no matter how you want to think about it, I got the Dak Lamb stack, baby.
Yeah. All right. Pat Fitzmaurice, you are on the clock with the 2.2, technically 3.2 in our draft, but this would be the second pick of the second round.
Yes. So, I mean, the Podfather is just bamboozling me here. First, I thought he was going to take Patrick Mahomes in the first round. He winds up swerving me and taking Jalen Hurts. Then I think he's going to pair Jalen Hurts with A.J. Brown. He does, in fact, go for the stack. You know, I know how Matt feels about stacks, but he does a completely different stack out of left field and takes CeeDee Lamb off the plate for me. That's who I was looking at here. And not only did Matt bamboozle me, but he made a liar out of me because I said I probably wasn't going to take another running back for a long time. I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor here. And, you know, for one thing, it's not hard to sell me on Jonathan Taylor since I am a University of Wisconsin graduate. Kind of partial to that guy anyway, but I just ignore what you saw last year. Just an absolute shit show with Matt Ryan at quarterback. He got hurt, tried to play on a high ankle sprain, didn't do well there. But if you take away the games where he was playing on that high ankle sprain, he was still pretty much his old self, averaging over 100 scrimmage yards a game. And let's not forget, this is the dude who scored 32 touchdowns in his first 32 NFL games. Taylor's an absolute monster. And I mean, you could probably even manufacture a case that, I don't know, maybe he could go ahead of Bijan Robinson. Maybe not. I still like Bijan. But Taylor, to me, is the clear number 2 running back. Happy to get him at this point.
If Breece Hall was healthy, would that change your mind? Like, if the injury never even happened, not like reports he was healthy.
It'd be pretty close. I think he'd be neck and neck with Taylor.
All right, D. Brown, I like that pick. Like you said, I don't think many people are thinking let's get the running backs early in Dynasty, but that's where I've had the most success because I like the options later on with some of the older players. D. Brown, you're up. You're on the clock here.
I'm glad he's still on the board. Right now in my Superflex ranks, I've got this guy as 12th overall. Outside of quarterbacks, only the 3 pillar guys of Chase, Jefferson, and Bijan will go above this guy for me. So I'm going to take the guy that could step into that elite tier. Give me Anthony Richardson here.
You sniped me, D-Bro, with the snipe
Hey,
right
man.
there.
Yeah, I mean,
Had to.
In Superflex drafts, I respect it. There's a case to say, like, look what happened with Trey Lance when he was going in the first round of Super. This feels different. This feels different. It feels like the floor is higher. Trey Lance, right? Podfather. Trey Lance always felt like a shaky pick in Superflex drafts early on.
God. Yeah, it's getting shakier by the day. Even when there's no news, it's bad for Trey Lance.
But I meant earlier, before he even played a game, they were both the number 3 pick. But for some reason, Anthony Richardson feels like a little bit too big to fail.
Yeah, so after getting sniped on Anthony Richardson, a shout out to Scott Barrett, who came on First Class Fantasy, much like D-Bro. Scott Barrett said it was like Vernon Davis with a cannon. So it's like a super, super exciting. But I'll go with a slightly smaller quarterback, but one that I think is a little bit beat up right now in Superflex valuation is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, I think, he's 25 and a half, almost 26 years old, but he's finished 11th, 3rd, 4th, and 7th in quarterback points per game throughout his career. So I think people have a little bit of recency bias. He still has a tremendous ceiling, and I'm hopeful that this new coaching staff is going to get the most out of him. So I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. I got to scroll down on Sleeper to find him too.
We're going to open this one up to the crowd. Who wants to really throw shade on this pick right here? Raise your hand if you want to throw.
Hi.
All right. We'll start with our guest. Tell them why this might be the worst pick of the draft, Derek. Go ahead.
Theo, what the hell do you think's going on in Arizona, man? We got Jonathan Gannon. We got an OC that we have never seen call plays before. We don't know what that's going to look like. Kyler Murray might not even play this year. So, are you automatically, setting this team up to be, a rebuild or a win next year and not this year type of team? I mean, lay this out for me, man. I get the points of Kyler Murray. We know what he is. But the other side of that is, yeah, we know who he is. The rushing's been going down for the last few years. Now he's got an ACL. Does the rushing come back? The entire franchise is a shit show. I get it if we were like going back in the time machine about a year ago before the ACL and stuff like that, but I feel like that situation's changed a lot.
Yeah, no, certainly. There's definitely some...
Theo, before you answer, let's let the chat. Good pick or bad pick? If you're in the chat, comment right now. Did Theo get a value, or did he tank his team for the next 5 years? Go ahead, Theo, respond.
Alan, you're influencing the chat by the way you phrase that.
Leading the witness.
You know, I'm not sure how well you would run a focus group, but Kyler Murray is a guy that we've seen it, D-Bro, and also I believe in the fact that he's going to be able to come back. I think that the idea that he's going to be out for the entire year, that's a rumor. There's no facts with that. Mm-hmm. I think that this coaching staff wants to win. And at the end of the day, you know, Matt and I have talked about it. Even if Arizona tanks, I'm not sure if they go quarterback this year. I think they've seen it from Kyler Murray. I think if Kyler Murray can come back healthy, he's going to have a more stable organization. I think, you know, you're not going to have Cliff Kingsbury there anymore doing some funny things. And at the end of the day, Kyler Murray, unlike some of the guys that are behind him, Kyler Murray has shown that he can put up elite fantasy numbers. So I believe in the fact that he can come back from injury. I believe in that he is a extremely athletic player. And I think this is a guy that we were taking, like, if this was last year and we were doing this, he would have gone like where Burrow's going. So now I'm getting him in the second round. I think it's well worth the risk.
I think. Sorry. I was just going to say, I think both points are pretty valid there. I just think that what I've seen is him in the third round. I think we would be applauding you, Theo. In the second round, feels like a lot of risk, but hey, who knows, right? He could be.
Debro took a quarterback that's never taken a snap in the NFL.
That's a good point.
Okay.
That's a good point.
So what are we talking about here? Yes, it's speculative, but this is the place where you take speculative quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson. Kyler Murray's 2 years younger than Deshaun Watson. Kyler Murray is also a hell of a lot more proven than Anthony Richardson. It's a mix of kind of choose your own adventure at quarterback in this zone. And I agree with Theo. I would go Kyler Murray. He's the best combination of high floor. I mean, we know what he is. We know he's one of the best deep ball passers in the league and also one of the fastest. Remember when he was racing Andy Isabella and he beat Andy Isabella and Andy Isabella ran like a 4.34? I mean, this is insane. What he is so special. And the fact that he was going top 6 in startups just last year, you're getting a massive discount on the current team situation and his knee. And if this team is better than expected, if it's well managed, we don't know how well it's going to be managed. It can't get worse, right? So if it's well managed and the knee is healthy in December, this is going to be looking like a steal.
Fair enough, guys. Before we move on to Maddie's pick, Pat, where are you going to take the risk with Kyler Murray in your startups in round 2, or do you like a little bit more of like Deshaun Watson went a pick later? How do you juxtapose those two guys?
I prefer Kyler. I mean, I've got him ranked 17th overall for Dynasty Superflex, and Theo just got him at 16, so I didn't think it was a reach at all. And Kyler piles up points. Like, I've got him on my most important Dynasty League team, and he just absolutely piles up points when he plays. And maybe he's a better fantasy quarterback than real life quarterback, but the guy scores points. And, I'm not that worried. I don't think the running game is going to disappear once he's healthy. I do think maybe it's a concern that they hold him back since they are pretty clearly in tanking mode for this year. But I think Kyler should probably be on dynasty teams that are not in win now mode. Like, I mean, if you've got him and you're in win now mode, maybe you should flip him for a slightly lesser quarterback who is going to play this year and a little extra juice.
Flip him for Cousins.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you're in win now, you should be actively flipping Kyler for Cousins.
Yeah, I've seen Kyler for CJ Stroud trades, things like that, So
that's a wacky trade. Why would you do that trade?
One healthy guy, one guy who's not healthy. I mean, that's
but the underlying strategy of Kyler for Stroud doesn't exist.
Well, he was traded for pick 4 in a rookie draft, Kyler. That's what I saw in my last one.
That's a horrible trade.
For which side?
That's a sell low that the person should be embarrassed.
All right, then I will not name him.
That's an embarrassing sell low. You're going to end up with CJ Stroud, who we don't know. This is what I love about the rookies, right? Except for Bijan, all of these rookies could bust. We could have 0 top 12 seasons from CJ Stroud, from Anthony Richardson, from Bryce Young. All we have now is hope. This is hope season. Dynasty Week is also in the middle of Dynasty Week is Flag Day, but we're also in the middle of hope season. That's what this is. That was just what? I can't believe that trade happened. The 104?
It happened. I saw it firsthand. I might have even clicked the button. All right, next.
Oh no,
Alan, let's do a quick recap because
Sure.
some picks. Yeah,
Sure. So what happened was after that controversial pick of Kyler Murray, Matty Kiwoom picked Deshaun Watson, which again I think that's an interesting case right there. On the end, I took my wide receiver 3, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Garrett Wilson, I think everybody would agree, is right in the mix there. Kirk Cousins, interesting pick there by Matty. We'll come back for an explanation in a moment. A.J. Brown, we are all in agreement that he could go 5 or 6 picks earlier or right here. And then that would leave Debro FFB on the clock right now.
Man, I'm really happy about this pick. I've got this guy as my wide receiver 4. I'm going to go Jalen Waddle here.
No arguments for me. I think he's in that tier of young guys who could do it all. So back to Pat, who's on the clock here. I lost track of what pick we're at, but
Well, let's talk to Matty about Kirk Cousins here. Kirk Cousins over A.J. Brown is a pick I have never seen.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes in a draft room, you're sitting here, you've seen all these quarterbacks go off the board. I had Herbert with this first pick, so I'm in it to win it now. Give me the Kirk Cousins, 'cause I think there's a cliff after Cousins where he's been a perennial top 12 producer, but now he has arguably maybe the Justin Jefferson Addison stack with Hawkinson at tight end as the best pass catching group he's had. I think there's some ceiling left, and I did not want to lose out on getting my second quarterback in a Herbert Cousins pairing. Yeah, I have to reach a little bit with Cousins, but I'm hoping to make up a little bit of that value as we go on. But I wanted those 2 quarterbacks. I really love the Herbert Kirk Cousins start.
got to go AJ Brown, Jalen Waddle, and a couple guys before Cousins right there.
But we've been in drafts, though, guys. We see that the quarterback, the vacuum starts sucking all these guys off the board, and then somebody says, hey, wait, this is the last guy I'm comfortable with. We do see it in drafts. So
my larger point in this is that with Dynasty, you have these guys for their career, and Kirk Cousins is going to play for at least another 5 years.
Okay.
And these are precious picks, right? Like it's a cavalier move by Debro to go Anthony Richardson, a player that we have no idea whether or not he can process information at the NFL level and make the right decisions at the right time to a point that a team will trust him to start all 17 games for a full season. I think he will. I sure as hell hope he will, but I don't know he will, right? And so that's the difference with seasonal leagues versus Dynasty. With Cousins, you know what you're getting, and you know that it's impossible to find quarterbacks on the waiver wire and through trade and Superflex. So Matty did the prudent thing. It's not sexy, but these are the types of moves that win Dynasty leagues. I think of all my Superflex teams, I think Kirk Cousins may have the highest rate of being rostered on championship teams in Superflex in my portfolio.
Yeah, the age 34, when you click on that player card, is going to scare some people off. But your point is well made, Matt Kelly. We talked about Jalen Waddle. We talked about A.J. Brown. So that leaves Pat. You're back on the clock here.
Yeah, you alluded to this just a minute ago, Alan. Just it's sort of how the quarterbacks, they run out quickly, seize the day while you can. And I'm going to do that here and go with Bryce Young. I think he's got a reasonably high floor. Everyone talks about him being this point guard type who comes in, knows where to go with the ball, isn't going to make silly mistakes. Not going to be a Konami code quarterback, but does have some mobility. He's probably going to provide the sort of bonus rushing value that you get from like a Joe Burrow or a Justin Herbert, maybe. And so, I don't know if he's going to be a star. I don't know if he even has the upside that Kyler Murray had, but I do think the floor is pretty high, and the quarterbacks are running out pretty quickly here.
Yep. Before I move over to Podfather for his back-to-back picks, give him a minute to look over the board. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Theo in the beginning. If you could have a complete reveal on one player for the 2023 season, who's that player for you that you would be the only person that knew their final stat line and can see their game log?
Oh man, I thought those first two answers were so good with the two quarterbacks, Justin Fields and Deshaun. Yeah, those would probably be my two. I think Deshaun would be number one for me, but I would also be very curious about Rachaad White's final season numbers.
I like that one, right? Because in the 7th round in redraft, you get all excited, and then you're like, wait a second. When you actually have to pick him, you're like, what if he doesn't work out? So I think that's a really good one. All right, Podfather. You're on the clock for 2 picks here for Podfather 1 and Podfather 2 Sunglass Guy.
So on Player Profiler, we have a strategy section. In the Dynasty Deluxe, on the Dynasty Rankings, there's the strategy mode. And you can select neutral, that's the default, or you can select win now or rebuild. So big reveal here. This team is in win now. This is in win now mode. But the beauty of Jalen Hurts is he's a win now quarterback. And you could also win later, so it's just perfect. And I've got something fun I want to do here. I think I'm gonna do the ultimate sort of win now move. Wait a second. Wait a second. I just realized something. I had no idea. I assumed he was gone. Have you ever had this happen? Has anyone ever had this happen where you blew right by a guy who was in the rankings because you assumed he was gone? And he's actually still on the board? We're reversing course. We're going to reverse course. No, we're going to go productive struggle. We're going to gun for 2024. If things break my way, we'll win in 2023 as well. But I can't pass this guy up. I have to reverse. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe you guys gave me Breece Hall. I didn't even know he was there. I had no idea. And now, because I have Breece Hall and he's not going to be 100% to start the season, I'm going to look forward a little bit more strongly than I will looking at to 2023. And so I'm going to go youth again. Hurts, Hall, Olave.
Oh. That's the sound.
The collective moans.
The sweet sound of snipe, right?
Oh man, that is gonna look at the ages of these guys. We're gonna have Hurts at age 26. We're gonna have Hall at age 23. We're gonna have Olave at age 24 next year. Oh, it's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah. I just want to note before we go back to Fitz, we had someone saying that we're disrespecting Tua here. I'm curious of where you're going to be on Tua. I mean, what's the case for him in Dynasty?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the case for is that he showed last year that he's actually a very good quarterback when healthy. The case against is that one more bad hit could potentially end his career. So, I can't live with that risk. I mean, I know it seems disrespectful to take Bryce Young ahead of him, but, even though Bryce Young is maybe smaller, maybe more of an injury concern, he hasn't had multiple concussions.
Dude, Tua's not big.
Yeah.
Right, Tua is small also, exactly.
Yeah, and Tua lacks pocket awareness. Tua is a tricky pick. I would say Tua is trickier than Deshaun Watson. So earlier, you asked Theo, what's the one guy, if you could know how the season's going to play out, he said Deshaun Watson. I would say Tua Tagovailoa. Because I have no idea. Also, his number one weapon is about to be 30 years old. So that's the other issue. What is Tua when he only has Waddle? We've seen it. It's not as good, right? So there's a few concerns that I have with Tua, in addition to just the lack of rushing. So Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, you want to put them ahead of Tua. It's pretty smart.
Yeah, he went in the second round of a recent startup that the three of us did, Theo and Podfather, which we were surprised because I think that we all wouldn't touch him until the 4th round of Superflex. But Fitz, you're on the clock here. What are you going to do?
Well, the Podfather did it to me once again. He starts talking about how that team is in win now mode. I'm licking my chops about to get Chris Olave, and he takes Chris Olave right in front of me. So
I had to pivot, man. Hall was there.
So now I'm forced to reevaluate a little bit, and I'm sure this pick is going to upset some people because it seems like anytime any fantasy analyst ever says anything nice about Kyle Pitts, people get really mad. But we are playing in a tight end premium league, and I like the idea of nailing down my tight end position for like the next 10 years. Yeah, the situation isn't great now, tethered to a bad QB situation and a coach who, lives to run the ball. But it's not going to be like this forevermore. And we know Kyle Pitts is good. He was a phenomenal tight end prospect, comes in, becomes the first tight end since Mike Ditka to have a 1,000-yard season as a rookie. There's no questioning the talent. And I do think it's going to be better, even if maybe his ceiling is a little capped by the situation this year. So I like having him. I know it's probably going to be better 2 or 3 years from now than it will be in 2023. But in a tight end premium league, I think this is about the right spot for Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I think this would be the guy I would want to know his stats if I could have one guy to reveal. And why do you think, before I let you go, Pat, why do you think people get so emotionally and triggered by the Kyle Pitts tight end 1 in Dynasty ranking?
Oh, man, there was a lot of hype for him last year. I know he was going in the first round of some Superflex startups last year. People liked him that much, or at least in tight end premiums. I think maybe he was just a little bit oversold. But I understand the reason why people were so high on him last year. The guy really is a pretty remarkable tight end prospect. Not a total unicorn. We're going to see Brock Bowers come in next year and generate a lot of the same type of hype, and hopefully land in a better situation. But, Pitts really is a legitimately good player, and I think he has a chance to defy this sort of, troublesome situation he's in right now. But, it's not ideal. I feel better about having him in Dynasty than in redraft.
Yeah,
people feel burned from last year, Alan. And I think a lot of times recency bias can cloud our judgment.
Definitely.
But you have seen 1,000 yards from him as a rookie. The talent is undeniable. And the age is the most intriguing thing, and the draft capital. So it's right here seems like a perfect spot.
It's going to be a very interesting pick. One that, like you said, can win you the league, or you're going to be like, why did I do it? All right, Derek Brown, you are up. I noticed in your bio it says that you were a FSWA writer finalist 2020. What do we got to do to get you over the hedge here? Because always the bridesmaid, never the bride. We got to get you as not more than a finalist this year. What can we do to help?
Any way that you can help me stack the hardware, I'm more than happy, Alan. I'm going to go with a controversial pick here, man. If I were to tell you that there's a quarterback, and there is, still left on the board that was 5th in accuracy rating per player profiler, 1st in true completion rate, and 7th in fantasy points per dropback. This guy's still out there, and people are going to be tilted by this pick, but I don't give a shit because I think we're going to see a higher ceiling out of him. Give me Daniel Jones.
Yeah, no tilt from me.
Get sniped again. I get sniped again from Debro. And Debro, maybe talk a little bit about your love for his number 1 target too.
Yeah, I wrote up Darren Waller for the draft kit, did the video for him this year, and I'm all in on the Giants offense this year. I think that we saw another layer to the offense once they found decent pass catchers. Not amazing, but decent pass catchers down the stretch. You saw an offense that over the last 6 to 7 weeks of the season was topped in everything we care about. Pace, EPA per play, total yards, all these different things. And they opened up the offense more. And we know Daniel Jones, like we just talked about. I would like to go back to Maddie's pick where he took Kirk Cousins. I would have taken Daniel Jones over Kirk Cousins 10 times out of 10 in Dynasty. He just signed a new contract. He's tied to Dayball for the next 2 to 3 years. He's going to run. This offense is going to be better. And if we want to draw parallels, and I'm not telling you this offense is going to be the same level, but Dayball is constructing this roster and this offense to run pretty similar to the Kansas City Chiefs. Their wide receiver ones are their tight ends. The rest of their wide receiver core, while it might not be extremely sexy, is all about taking advantage of matchups, skill sets, things like that. So everybody makes the joke about, well, they got 10 slot wide receivers. Yeah, but they're going to deploy these guys in all kinds of different ways. So I don't give a crap. While everybody's laughing, I'm going to take top 10 production and rushing upside from Daniel Jones easily on the board right now.
700 yards rushing last year, Debro.
Yeah. I mean, and his passing numbers were great too from an efficiency standpoint.
Right. I only saw 5 picks. Is that right, guys? 5 picks for Daniel Jones last year, something like that. Not too bad.
Lowest.
All right.
Lowest
Yeah. No.
interception rate.
In the whole league. In the
Yeah.
whole league. Oh wow. All right. So I like that pick too. I thought I was going to be the high man on Daniel Jones. Thought I was going to get him on the turn. So it sounds like you double sniped Theo Graminger.
I was interested in Daniel Jones as well. I like that pick. I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs, 21-year-old running back. I think that he is going to be an absolute fantasy star. The Lions told you exactly what they think about him and how they plan on using him with draft capital spent. We talk about the impact guys like Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, and Austin Eckler have had on fantasy teams. I'm not sure he'll quite reach that level, but I think that he will have an opportunity to do so. So I love getting him here.
Yeah, very on brand for Theo here, and I can't say it's wrong either, even though I wanted to. But Theo, that's a good pick. What do you think? What do you think is a good comparison for him as far as like fantasy production year one? Who would you say from the past?
I actually tweeted this the other day. I think that you have to look at guys like Reggie Bush, the way he was utilized. He had, I believe, 86 receptions. Christian McCaffrey had 80 receptions. Alvin Kamara had 81. Like, if it really, really hits, I think he could be that McCaffrey rookie year production where McCaffrey finished right around RB12. Billy Muzio has Jahmyr Gibbs finishing as an upper half RB2. So it's just going to take a couple of spike weeks to kind of place him in that, RB11, RB12 range. I think it's absolutely a possibility, and I think he'll get a great head start to the season with, more available targets with Jameson Williams missing, and we also have the fact that it's going to be a rookie tight end to start the year. Laporta, who knows how quickly he'll get going. So I think Jahmyr Gibbs, that's the kind of the guy that when we're drafting in Las Vegas and they have the Thursday night game is like an all play and those guys are available the next day, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have 9 catches against Kansas City when they lose that game, and he's in a positive game flow all second half, and he's going to be the one that steams up. So interesting
comparison to Kamara, and that means David Montgomery is Mark Ingram, I suppose. Maddie, you're on the clock here.
This is the Herbert Man Van Kirk Cousins, and also Debro. Shout out to the nickname. I will be calling him that from now on, Man Van Kirk Cousins. Love it. But it's a win now team, and I have an outlier here left on the board. Just a perennial difference maker in fantasy football, Travis Kelce. I'm going to go ahead and take him. Even with the slight premium, give me Kelce here. And now I've got my quarterbacks, my tight end off the board, and I'll start peppering those running backs and receivers with this team.
Yeah, Kelce is the tight end too. That's another. Fitz, I'm going to go back to you with Pitts as the tight end 1. Where were you going to have Kelce in your tight end rankings? It's such a weird situation given his age, right?
Yeah, it really is. You can make a case for either Pitts, Kelce, or even Mark Andrews because they all come at sort of 3 very different age tiers and production tiers. Pitts is the guy with the least assured immediate production, but he's the youngest and has the longest career runway. Whereas Kelce is just this annual monster who's sort of, reaching the age cliff. And, like the 3 Bears, maybe Mark Andrews is just right for some people as sort of the peak guy, not quite giving you Kelce production, but, certainly more assured or at least a little safer than Pitts, you would think.
Podfather, what do you think?
Kelce's 33 years old.
34
you know
in
how many
October.
targets Tony Gonzalez had at age 36? 124. At age 37, 121.
That's good for Kelce.
Yes, sir.
Right? These are very similar players, like clean bill of health, very, very durable. Their style of play allows them to stay healthy in spite of the fact they play the tight end position. The tight ends get injured more than the average wide receiver. And yet a handful of these tight ends, whether it be Jason Witten, whether it be Tony Gonzalez, some of these elite tight ends, they're able to avoid the big injuries all the way through into their mid to late 30s. And so that's very much a possibility. So we could still have 5 years to go. Age 33, 34, 35, 36, 37 for Travis Kelce.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The question, though, Podfather, is when people are asking you, how should I treat the tight end position in a dynasty startup, is 1.5 PPR enough for you to push them up? Or do you just play it like a normal tight end league in your mind and let everyone push up tight ends that shouldn't be pushed up?
1.5 used to be the standard tight end premium. It's only recently, Alan, that your mind's been polluted by these like 1.75, 2.0 tight end premium leagues. Those aren't real tight. Those are super premium. Right. So yes, you're pushing these guys up. I'm surprised Pitts and Kelce lasted as long as they did. Well, I'm really more surprised that Kelce lasted as long as he did. Kelce could have easily gone earlier, but the last time I picked, it was for a slower burning team where I'm trying to win in 2024. So Kelce didn't make as much sense. I wasn't ready to push the button on Pitts. We at Player Profiler have Kelce as the number one tight end and in Dynasty.
To speak to the power of Travis Kelce in a tight end premium format, Alan, if you look at FFPC scoring from last year, Kelce not only outscores Justin Jefferson, but he finishes ahead of all but 5 quarterbacks. He would have been quarterback 5, and that's a 4-point passing touchdown format.
Podfather, you talked about how only recently tight end premiums have gotten all these like wacky, kinky things. It's like, it reminds me of the guy who just can't have normal sex anymore. All of a sudden he needs like his nipples pinched or like a candle jammed up his ass or something.
That's right.
Just to get the same orgasm, you know. So.
We were all thinking the same thing, Alan. We just didn't say it.
Alan, I've been on 2 Sonic Truths and nipples have now popped up in both.
No pun intended.
What is it about Kiwoom that just nipples have to be brought up in the combo?
It's not the nips that pushed it over. It's the damn candle comment. That's what got me.
It's the candle.
That's what got me. Was it lit or not, Alan? That's what I need to know.
Lit on both ends.
Oh.
All right. I took Devontae Smith, finished, I think, wide receiver 9 on the year, guys. Only a couple spots behind A.J. Brown. I'm not going to make too much of a distinguish between the two. I'll take the value guy. And then it's either Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley. Barkley, I feel like, you know, I could be talked out of this one, so I wanted a running back there. Those are the next 2 guys on my board. I don't want to call Barkley the more durable, but it certainly feels that way. I could just, you know, you could flip a coin and convince me the other way. Maddie, back to you.
So I want to take a quick second here because this is a pivotal moment in startups where this team here has Fields and Watson, a very fragile start that could be win now with this pick if I go say, you know, well, I won't table talk, but if I go one player or if I go another player, am I looking at 2024 and beyond? But I'm always in win now mode, whether I'm drafting for the Herbert team or for the Justin Fields team. So give me another super stud here, getting that value pick. And now I've essentially pushed this team in to try to win earlier rather than later getting McCaffrey.
I want to thank Alan for the respect on Barkley. We've been higher on Barkley in Dynasty all year, all offseason, and we've seen him slipping sometimes a round after McCaffrey goes. And I go to Theo every time I see this. I'm like, why? Barkley's actually younger. And like, oh, well, the contract situation, he might hold out. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, we talked about this last week, and
they're like, oh, Bijan Robinson might be the next Saquon Barkley. Yeah, you're picking Bijan Robinson in the first round, and then you're forgetting about the guy that you're hoping he becomes.
Yeah, and it's funny because Matt brings up, you know, Saquon's only 26. We saw him come back last year, played phenomenal football. Debro talked up the quality of the offense. I think there's some slight concerns with the longevity of the contract, but without a doubt, if Saquon, you know, does what he did last year, he's going to get a massive deal from somebody, and he's going to be able to pick his spot, and I think he'll have dynasty longevity. And I think there's a chance that the offense, much like Debro alluded to, takes a big step forward, and Saquon Barkley could be running back 1 overall this year and actually gain dynasty value. So he's like this is fantastic value where you got him, Alan.
Best pick of the draft. You're up, Theo.
So for me, I'm going to take my shot here on CJ Stroud. I think that this is a good time to take him. This is about 13 spots behind where Pat took Bryce Young and a little bit further from where Debro got Anthony Richardson. I don't love Bryce Young, but I think that the Houston organization is going to do the right things and put him in a stable environment where he's a chance to succeed. Matt and I have talked about how, like, his and you as well, Alan, on the Sonic Truth Pod when we were evaluating this rookie class is like CJ Stroud. I think his upside comparison would be like a Kirk Cousins, like a Jared Goff. I don't think he's going to set fantasy on fire, but I think he could reach low-end QB1 numbers if it's all said and done. And in a Dynasty Superflex, I'll take my shot here.
Yeah. No, you mean the quarterbacks are running out? Young quarterbacks are premium?
Yeah.
This is
21 years old.
Great spot for him right here. Derek, you're up right here. What's the direction you're going to go?
I've got one or two directions I want to go here. To be honest, I'm going to go with the guy that I know he's getting a little bit older, but he's already come out and said that he's playing for the next few years. We know contract certainty. He's not going anywhere. And honestly, maybe I'm just tipping my hand. I'm a little bit higher on this offense because if the quarterback can stay healthy, I think Tyreek Hill can go for 2,000 yards this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason he's going number 4 or 5 in redraft, right? I mean, you're getting a guy for the next 3 years because there's an actual expiration date. He said he's leaving football in 3 years, but enjoy that.
Allen, he was almost on pace for 1,900 yards with Tua under center last year. Like, if he gets more touchdowns, Tua stays healthy, he could be the wide receiver 1 overall this year.
Yeah, and Debro, like 119 catches last year, 170 plus targets, and he only had 7 touchdown catches. If you look at his previous production, he's got a 15 touchdown season. He's got a 12 touchdown season. I believe like over the last 4 years, he was 0.7 touchdowns per game. Last year was like 0.4. If he hits his average, he's wide receiver 1 overall.
Absolutely.
Right. Pat, this is the point of the draft where we're deciding between old guy production and young guy potential. Where do you tend to go, and what are you going to do with this pick?
I tend to, in startups, build teams that are that have an ETA of year 2 or year 3. Concentrating on youth, but not totally sacrificing immediate production. I don't like drafting a productive struggle team and setting myself up for a 4 or 5 year slog. I mean, I do want to win soon, but probably not, right away. I'm not quite like Maddie, who is always stomping the accelerator. So, so this is a year 2 or year 3 team, and Debro kind of, it would have been between Tyreek Hill and the guy I'm going to take now, and I think the guy I'm going to take now fits this team a little bit better, T. Higgins. And, I was choosing between Higgins and another guy, but I think Higgins might be a little bit better fit because this team just so happens to have a tight end who plays on the same team as the other wide receiver I was considering. And I do think T. Higgins is quite possibly an alpha receiver in waiting. The general belief is that the Bengals aren't going to be able to keep both Jahmyr Chase and T. Higgins long term, so Higgins is going to find a new home fairly soon, and presumably he's going to go in as the number 1 wide receiver wherever he lands. So,
wait, are you reporting that for Fantasy Pros? That
No,
T. Higgins
no.
will no longer be a Bengal?
No, but that is the belief is that they're not going to be able to lock up both Chase and Higgins long term.
Before the Podfather picks, though, and normally we wouldn't table talk, but just because this is supposed to be an actionable takeaway for people watching, who is the other player you were considering?
Drake London.
Oh, okay. So this is all right.
Yeah,
So
just young, and I do think he is going to be an alpha receiver, but he kind of runs into the same problem that Pitts has with this run-heavy team. Not a great quarterback situation, but he's definitely a guy with 100 catch potential, perennial 100 catch potential.
Pat, you can't take all the Falcons. You can't take all the Falcons, Pat.
At this point,
You just foreshadowing you're going to sit here and snipe me, Pat? Is that how this goes?
Podfather for 2.
I love taking another one of those Falcons receivers if you have Bijan. Because basically you're betting on 2024. So I am actually drafting right now. We talked about this in the Player Profiler Dynasty Week startup with the staff. Maddie's in that and many others. So we have a lot of people now at the company, which is amazing. And I was fortunate enough to get Bijan. And then my decision point with a couple picks after that was between London and Pitts. And I went Pitts for the reasons we talked about earlier, but it was very close. And I love doing that in Dynasty. Dynasty is we should look at this. There's a book here.
he's good. This is the part of the stream where he pulls the book
in the
out.
book, we talk about the difference between negative correlation and handcuffing in Dynasty versus seasonal leagues. I would never do that in a seasonal league. You think I'm going to draft Bijan and then turn around and draft Pitts in a seasonal league? Absolutely not. But Dynasty is different. You have these guys for their career, so that you get to benefit from an injury to one guy. So if you have Pitts in London, if London goes down, you benefit from it. You have the insurance policy, but you also get that correlation if the offense improves, right? So you get both the insurance policy with the long-term correlation. It's not short-term correlation, right? It's negative correlation if you're drafting Bijan and, let's say, Pitts. But longer term, if this thing turns around, then it's a windfall for both. And also, one guy is going to get increased target share if another guy's not playing. So it's antithetical to traditional fantasy, but in Dynasty, you need to start thinking about pairing players and handcuffing players where you would never consider it in a seasonal league. Now, in this particular team, remember, I drafted Prescott and Lamb at the 112-201 turn, and I believe this is an MVP caliber season coming for Dak Prescott. CeeDee Lamb could lead all receivers in fantasy points. No one would be surprised if I told you that the number one wide receiver in fantasy this year was CeeDee Lamb. No one would be like, oh, that's impossible. Right? No, it's very possible. It's very possible because, but without Kellen Moore? Yeah, actually without Kellen Moore. Because the team has told us by not drafting a running back, by letting Zeke go, by not backfilling him with a free agent running back, that they're all in on the passing game. So this team, as opposed to the other team I'm drafting for, which is more 2024, this is a win now team. This is a win now team. And what I'm about to do feels so good because I actually believe that you all have just ceded the championship to me. What I need to do here is I'm going to take a risk. The risk is I'll be able to find quarterback production later. If I'm going to do what I'm about to do right now, that means I'm going to punt QB2, and I'm going to be mixing and matching QB2 throughout the year. Whoever I end up drafting as my QB2 is not going to be my QB2 for every game, right? It's clear. If I pass on quarterback now, whoever I get later is going to be a stopgap solution only. But what I'm about to do right now will set me up for the best possible, highest probability of winning a championship and taking this league down. With this moment in the draft, you're about to see the league be won.
And for those at home, he went Cooper Kupp and Austin Eckler. Certainly win now pieces. Yeah. I mean, I'm as we go back to Fitz, Cooper Kupp in a startup. That's who I thought you were going to be taking over there, but I'm scared to death of Cooper Kupp. So comment on Matt Kelly's picks. We all agree that Austin Eckler is a win now pick. Certainly 1 year of top 2, top 3 running back production, but where's Cooper Kupp fit into your dynasty plan?
I mean, right next to Tyreek Hill. I mean, I think they're both great immediate value picks, and yes, maybe a little bit less of a back end upside for career longevity, but I think Kupp's going to have another 3-4 really, really productive years, same as Tyreek Hill. So I like that pick. I mean, if you're in win now mode, those are good pair of picks. No complaints.
Before Pat makes that pick, Derek, do you think that, are you nervous about the Kupp long-term, when I say long-term, 2-year outlook, even if there's no Stafford or Sean McVay? Does that worry you in any way?
I mean, I think we're kind of assuming in this whole forecasting for the Rams, I think Stafford, unless he retires, the money on his contract, he's still going to be there. And if Stafford's there, I think McVay's still going to be there. So I feel pretty good about Kupp's 2-year outlook. You get past that, maybe it gets a little bit sketchy, but he's still in the prime of his career. Nothing even last year showed that he was falling off at all. He just got hurt.
All right. Guys, we've made 37 picks. We're going to finish this round, lightening the way back, and then just wrap it up as far as thoughts on the draft, okay? So, Fitz, you're up here.
I got to do it, and I'm ridiculously overloaded on Falcons, but it's just the value. And hey, we tend to trade a lot in Dynasty, so I'm probably not going to have 3 Falcons forever in perpetuity. But I just think this is a young alpha who has massive yearly upside once the Falcons eventually get the quarterback situation right.
And
Yeah.
they will.
That makes sense.
They will get it. They will get it right.
And even with the bad quarterback, I mean, he's still got a pretty good floor.
Kyler Murray next year, right, guys? When the Cardinals draft at the 101. All right. D Brown, you are up on the clock. Who's the next best value on the board here?
So I've got two guys I'm considering here, but I'm going to take this pick, and I want to make this as a statement pick. You have all of these second-year wide receivers, and look where all of these guys have gone. We've already taken Garrett Wilson off the board. We've taken Chris Olave. We've taken Drake London. We talk about all their metrics and future alpha status. I'm going to take the guy that keeps getting disrespected, that keeps getting shit on no matter what people talk about because they just want to be right about their damn priors. And my priors were right. So I'm going Christian Watson.
I thought we were taking Sky Moore there, so just kidding.
No, that's
Wandale
when the priors
Robinson?
were a little bit off.
Yeah.
Not Wandale?
Never Wandale.
Theo, you know that D Brown doesn't have to convince me about Christian Watson, so where are you going to be on that pick?
I'm going to give I give D-Bro this compliment every single time I podcast with him because he always likes to bring up Christian Watson. But D-Bro was the original Christian Watson guy. We had him on the GOAT District right around during the Senior Bowl, I believe, and he was raving about this Christian Watson. And throughout the draft process, he said how great Christian Watson was going to be. There was a lot of haters when he was selected by the Green Bay Packers, people comparing him to Marcus Valdez-Scantling and guys like that. And D-Bro, big hat tip to you. You were completely right on Christian Watson. This was a great valuation by you, and you're continuing to hammer home Christian Watson.
Matt Kelly, where were you guys after the Senior Bowl with Christian Watson before he was drafted?
We were high on him. We were also relatively high on Jalen Tolbert. So you can't be right about everybody, right?
Although
so just for the record, we've had to lower Jalen Tolbert over time. Jalen Tolbert's not dead yet, though. Jalen Tolbert's had a year coming from a small school, South Alabama, to learn the playbook, and I think he was overwhelmed. A lot of these players were. Sky Moore was overwhelmed, moving up from a Western Michigan to the NFL. That happens. The fact that Christian Watson, coming from North Dakota State, North Dakota, was not overwhelmed is amazing. Right? It's amazing for where he's going to go moving forward. I'm excited. Jordan Love, though, is a big unknown. The assumption that Jordan Love, that because the team is all in on Jordan Love, they're not all in on Jordan Love. The team they knew they had to move on from Aaron Rodgers. It was just time. Sometimes it's just time to move on. They knew it was time to move on. I don't think they really wanted to move on. They know this is going to be a transition year in Green Bay. I'm sure Pat agrees with this. They had to turn to Jordan Love. They didn't have a choice. Where you see Jordan Love going in some of these Superflex startups is too high. He at the Senior Bowl was not nearly as impressive as Justin Herbert, but he did show off a cannon, and that it's going to be interesting to see what a guy with that kind of arm strength, how he links up with Christian Watson, what the target depth is, how they use him. So I'm fascinated, especially now with Jaden Reed on the other side. We'll see how quickly they get Jaden Reed online. But Watson's going to be the number one guy. My worry with Watson is, I think the downside risk with Watson is that he's an air yard star, not a fantasy star this year. That is possible with Jordan Love. And if I'm an offensive coordinator, I'm going to be drawing up deep shots to Watson. But if they don't pair that with enough shorter throws to get him targets and to get him catches, then you're at risk of having a super volatile season where when you look at the fantasy points at the end of the year, it doesn't shake out the way you were hoping. That would be the downside risk of Watson.
Theo Greminger, you are on the clock. Who you taking here?
If Christian Watson somehow loses dynasty value this year, then that probably means that Jaden Reed gained a little dynasty value there. There's probably going to be a little correlation with that one. Matt, would you agree on that?
Yeah, I think or Jaden Reed's flat because Jordan Love sucks. Right? That's also possible. right? We have no idea what Jordan Love is. I don't think the Packers have any idea what he is. So we're all going to find out together. That's another one of these quarterbacks where, like, man, I would really love to know how things play out with Jordan Love. That would be fascinating. It would be good. If you knew Jordan Love was going to be efficient this year, if you somehow knew that, then Christian Watson would go, 3 rounds earlier in this draft?
He'd be in the Olave Garrett Wilson conversation.
Yeah.
That's the upside case. Right. We talked about the downside case. D-Bros, he's hitting the upside case.
Yep. All right, Theo.
So there's I'll table talk since we're already table talking. One of the 2 guys behind me is going to take Stephon Diggs, and that would be the guy that I would consider taking here. But I'm going to go with Mark Andrews. This is tight end premium. There's Mandrews is still here. You're talking about a guy who was the number 1 tight end in 2021, and in 2020 he was tight end 4 in points per game. This is a guy, Lamar Jackson now has the contract situation stable. This is his preferred target, and you heard Pat reference Brock Bowers, how the Todd Monken offense, we've seen tight ends do special things. I don't think anything's going to change. I think there's some slight concerns with the fact that there's a number of wide receivers there, but I don't think it's going to affect Mark Andrews. I think he's going to continue to be a top 5 tight end in fantasy for at least a few more years. Only 27.5.
Yeah, I think in premium, this is going to be later than he goes, but Mark Andrews, the next guy off the board there. I think everybody would agree that's a good pick. I saw D-Bro moaning there.
I almost took him. That's the guy I was sitting here debating between. And I honestly almost took him with Tyreek Hill, but I had to make a statement for Watson because I think the shade has gone way too damn far.
You did it for the brand, D-Bro.
And it's
important. It is off of the brand.
Yeah.
All right.
All respect to that.
Matty Kiwoom, this is an important pick for you. Who are you going to take here?
So with Mark Andrews off the board, I am going to go with our highest rated player in our Win Now Dynasty ranks. He is a running back who can create on his own. He didn't really get a whole lot of playing time till week 5. He didn't pass that 50% snap share until week 5, but he's still 12th in yards created. He was 3rd most breakaway runs on the season, 10th in evaded tackles. He is an absolute beast. I think he's fallen long enough. So just like Stewie from Secession, Team Ken, baby.
Oh, I love it.
Love it.
I love it, man.
I had Ken Walker as my RB1 in Dynasty before the draft. The Charbonnet thing scares me more than it does the Podfather, but this is the spot. I mean, it's all the risk is baked in, so we're going to give you a thumbs up there. Makes up for that Kirk Cousins pick a few rounds ago.
Oh, Twitter's really mad at me about this my Charbonnet fade talk.
Oh, no, yeah.
Twitter's they're outraged.
You got some backers in there too, Matt. It's not all
they're out. They can't believe this guy. Why would you talk about the fact that he's not as athletic as Kenneth Walker, and he's not the same worker off the field? Why would you talk about that? Imagine they hit you with the imagine. Right? Imagine doing this. Imagine saying that. Right? Right? Imagine comparing the headshot of Kenneth Walker to the headshot of Zach Charbonnet. That is just the absolute height of lame, unhelpful fantasy analysis until you actually do it. Okay? This show, the Sonic Truth Podcast, has been around for years. Mind of Mansion's going to be a 10-year podcast by the time I retire from that show. Okay, I've been going on for a long time. And I can promise you, at no point was I telling you to draft a guy or not draft a guy based on headshot. All right, that's not how I do things. However, if you go to Player Profiler and you put up 2 browser tabs, one with Charbonnet, one with Walker, and compare their headshots, you will know what I'm talking about. That man is not going to let that other guy take any touches from him. Not one. Kenneth Walker's going to eat Zach Charbonnet. He's going to eat him, and he's going to shit him out.
You know what? I am overexposed, so I hope you're right. Headshot analysis. You only get that here on the Sonic Truth podcast. All right, guys, I think this is the right spot.
Imagine, Alan, imagine
talking
about a headshot.
Imagine.
They don't get the show. They don't get the show. We'll have headshot rankings also on Fantasy Pros, right, guys? That's the headshot
Absolutely.
rankings.
I'm working on them right now. Yeah.
It's a Debro metric.
Dude, I've actually had to close Kenneth Walker's player page because I just got too scared.
I actually just pulled it up
He's
and I
very
felt like
intimidating.
he was looking at my soul, so I had to close it too.
Yeah, just close it, dude. I wouldn't look at that for more than 2 seconds.
I think we're in agreement. I hope we're in agreement that all of the risk is kind of squeezed out right here for Tua. So if you need a quarterback, even if you don't, if he puts up 2 good games, he'll be a good trade chip, or you could trade one of your early QBs. Tua would be my pick here. If I was going a little bit safer, there's still a lot of good quarterbacks there. We're going to go lightning round, guys, right here. Make your pick, 1 line of analysis, and then we'll close it out, okay? You could make this pick agnostic of your roster build. Just the best value on the board as you see fit for this next round. I am not going to take Stephon Diggs. Especially with all of he's not showing up to camp. I know that doesn't really mean anything. It's just that
Free
falling.
Dude,
Pretty much.
Leave him with Matty Kiwoom.
Free fall.
Yeah.
Give Matty Kiwoom the gift, Alan. Leave him.
Yeah, I'm going to give him the gift. TJ Hawkinson
my
is the
God.
obvious tight end premium pick
That
here.
is
So
soaking up so much win now juice right now.
yeah, so for me, it's
Oh,
TJ
God.
Hawkinson who goes earlier than you want to pick him, but when everyone else is scrambling, you'll be happy you have him. Maddie, you're up next.
Yeah, I mean, you can't pass on Steph Diggs here, perennial superstar. And this is the perfect. We might find out that today is the day on the calendar where we look back and go, if you had a startup today, you got Diggs at a tremendous value because he shows up to OTAs tomorrow.
That's very fair analysis, but since I am scared and cowardly, I pass. Theo, you're up.
I am going to take DK Metcalf. You know, you can do a lot of things with him in Dynasty. I love Jackson Smith and Jigba, but I'm going to continue on the DK train here.
Hey.
Table talk. Little table talk.
The guy was so stern against it last time. It was
He's not. No, you weren't gonna get him. No,
Oh,
I
Theo.
like future alphas. Okay,
Listen,
Theo, you
Listen.
son of a gun.
It's the correct. Debro and I are going to do the
I am
correct
at the
thing.
top
sir.
of the queue. Don't
Theo.
blame Theo. I was
Right.
just
Theo.
It's the
Not
correct
every-
thing to do. To gobble
Most
up
people-
the two Seattle wide receivers.
Thousands and thousands of people are listening and they're not watching. So Debro took Jackson Smith and Jigba, perfect table talk and snipe. I love that. And then Fitz, you took Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs a little bit undervalued in Dynasty.
I think so. He's still young and very, very good, as we saw last year.
Yeah, I mean, who's this year's Josh Jacobs? The guy that nobody wants that can finish as a top 5 running back.
Oh man, that is a good question.
Akers, Dobbins,
DeAndre Swift.
Swift.
If we're talking about redraft.
Okay.
DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
Don't say
They're
the
in
R
same
word on
round.
this podcast.
no,
No R word.
Yeah, I'll
Not this week. Of all weeks,
I like
Theo.
the Akers call. Akers or Rashad White.
Yeah, Rashad
I'm a
White.
Rashad White guy too.
Akers or Dobbins.
All right, Podfather, finish it out, and then
Okay,
I'll have one
this
question
is,
for
this
everybody.
This is a productive struggle team, and I actually define productive struggle differently than my esteemed colleague Pat Fitzmaurice. I define productive struggle as basically you struggle for 1 year, but it's productive, right?
But
and
you
then
struggle.
then it's game on in 2024. I would never play for 2025 or beyond. That's a losing game. Your league could fold by the time that happens, right? So you don't want your league disbanding just as your team's getting good. That's that's a massive dynasty fail. So given that that's my structure, and now you know my teams, the team that I'm looking at here started with Hurts. Then I came back with Breece Hall and Chris Olave at the 2-3 turn. And now I'm picking again. It's come all the way back to me. Let's go around the table to close us out. Given that my strategy, given my team build, who do you all think I will draft or should draft?
It's too hard to follow the board and what your team build is.
Come on, Alan. I just told you.
Say it
I've got
again.
Hurts. I've got Hall and Olave. I got one quarterback, one running back, one receiver, and I'm trying to win in 2024. What more information do you need, Alan?
I can guess Matt's pick
I
here.
got a short
I
list.
think
ahead.
it is going to be Tony Pollard, the running back from the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, that's not it because I have no idea where Tony Pollard's going to be next year. He's
Okay.
on a franchise tag. I'm definitely, and I already have a running back. I'm not doing that, Theo. So that was a terrible guess.
All right, it's like Family Feud.
Awful guess. Awful
one
guess,
strike.
but
It's Family Feud. All right.
Matt's never liked Tony Pollard ever. Terrible guess.
I'll go with you're just gonna hog targets here, Matt. Let's go Devontae Adams.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's a what? No,
I'm between him or Ramondre. That's my two guys.
I'm playing for next year, really.
So you're playing for this year, but
So
you're
it's
playing
not
for next year.
That's an even worse guess than Theo's guess.
Pat, you want to put this out of this bit out of its misery?
Oh man,
I got a guess too.
Travis Etienne.
And Maddie,
Better
what's
guess. That's a better guess, but I'm not going running back here because I have Hall.
And
Oh,
Maddie,
here we go.
This is another strategy point.
Oh, I know where you're going.
If I already have a running back and I'm playing for 2024, I would not draft another running back in the first 10 rounds. I would go hero RB only in more of a rebuild, productive struggle strategy. Go ahead, Maddie.
So on Player Profiler, we have these little icons for my guys on the website. So for the brand, Matt's taking DJ Moore.
That's a great call. I think that's the best guess so far. And I can tell you actually you're all just so wrong. It's embarrassing how wrong you are. And we need to add some sound effects. The wrong answer sound effect. Who runs the production system for these streams? Is he in this draft?
I could talk to him, but we got a little surprise for you.
Okay, that's not what that's perfect because that's really what you all did. Those were the guesses. I'm between two. I was thinking about actually drafting Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison would have been a great pick, but here's what I'm going to do. My flag is planted because this is Dynasty Week, and this is a team that is the most underrated team for Dynasty in terms of a source of talent. For at this point in the draft, in a Superflex league with the Konami code and weapons, and I think it's only going to get better in 2024 with the final pick, Kenny Pickett.
Yep, that's certainly your flag plant guy. All right, Kenny Pickett, probably a little underrated in the Superflex League so far. You've stood up for him a couple times. What we're going to do here now, I'm just going to go lightning round, one question, short answer from each player. We'll go reverse order here. Matty Kiwoom, who is the Dynasty Superflex player that goes in the first round that's most likely to bust?
Let me go real quick. I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson. Theo, your question is, what is the correct way to play the tight end position in 1.5 premium startups for those who are getting into their first startup?
I think you want to be a little more aggressive than we were today, because I think that there's just every single season there's only a few tight ends who cross 200 PPR points in non tight end premium. And if you just look at that, those kind of guys are valued even more in this sort of setup. So the guys that are 200 points, 100 targets, those guys go for a lot more. So I would say that Travis Kelce was a value here. Mark Andrews was a value here. And I believe that TJ Hawkinson was also a slight value here as well.
Derek Brown of Fantasy Pros, you follow him at dbro_FFB. If you miss out on a first-round quarterback and you're in the wide receiver pick, what's the correct way or the way that you advise to get two quarterbacks that you have faith in a Superflex startup?
Build equity at other positions, go BPA, and then trade for one after the draft.
All right, I like that one. The after draft trade market. Pat Fitzmaurice, you follow him at Fitz_. Do I have it right? FFB, is that right?
Fitz_FF.
So okay, Fitz_FF. I screwed that one up. What do you think is the biggest mistake that even experienced dynasty players make in startup drafts?
Not paying enough attention to the wide receiver position. And I kind of made that in this startup draft too. But like I think it's pretty imperative that you build some strength at wide receiver. And people just assume it's a deep position, and it's really not as deep as people think.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. I was going to say, as you took 2 running backs in this draft. So
Yeah, exactly.
Do as I say, not as I do. I like that advice. Podfather, people are getting into their rookie drafts. They've had a million rookie drafts. Who's this year's Elijah Mitchell? Like, who's the player that you get in the 3rd round that's not going to be a star, but it's going to have a lot of fantasy utility?
Well, now that the Dalvin Cook release, the Dwayne McBride drafters he's gained a round plus of value, so that's the easy one, right? That's the easy one. But I want to go back to something that Pat said. You notice what I've done, right? Is I went quarterback early, where we have Prescott higher than consensus. And then I was not particularly interested in the Daniel Jones, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud world of quarterback drafting. The opportunity cost of going to Stroud, Jones, Young is too high to me. Look who you're foregoing. Olave, Kupp, Eckler, league-winning, win-now players, or building block assets like Hall and Olave. If once Prescott and Watson are off the board, I say wait. Don't push it. Don't feel that pressure to get that second quarterback. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't align as you're drafting to get a quarterback where he should go at ADP, do not reach. Look at these quarterbacks that are available late. I love Kenny Pickett because he's the best of all worlds, that he has the youth, he has the rushing ability, he has quality receivers. But look at Russell Wilson. He was the most unlucky quarterback in the league last year. He's going to bounce back. Geno Smith, by many measures, was the most efficient quarterback in the NFL. He's still on the board. Mac Jones has been the most disrespected of all these young quarterbacks. He's available late. Goff, who's to say that the Lions aren't just going to double down on Goff over the next couple of years? And on and on and on down the board to Matthew Stafford. I mean, there's a lot of options that actually, when you take a look at Matthew Stafford, he's got a couple of years left. Derek talked about how, based on his contract, he's going to be there for at least the next couple of years. So do not panic and rush to fill that QB2 spot in Superflex startups. That is my number one piece of advice.
All right, and pay attention all week to the Player Profiler YouTube page, the Twitter account, as Dynasty Week continues with a whole slew of shows and programs and articles. If you just follow at Player Profiler, you'll get up to date on all of that. Pat and Derek, tell us real quick what's going on at Fantasy Pros that we should be paying attention to. I'll start with Pat. After he unmutes himself, we'll start with Pat. There we go.
We have our redraft kit coming up. We've got our best ball and dynasty kits out already. So pretty much whatever kind of league you're in, you can find it at Fantasy Pros. So come check us out.
And Derek, tell us the article you're going to write that's going to win you Writer of the Year this year.
I'm going to be rolling it back. I'm going to be doing the primer every single week, so that monstrosity will be out for your reading pleasures. We're going to do a few different things, cross over to YouTube and some other ideas for the primer as well. But right now, the one that I'm pumping out, and I'm probably going to have maybe around 50 players, I'm going to have my perfect draft article on the site in the coming weeks. So check out for that.
And, of course, the most important appearance of the week is Maddie Kiwoom coming on the RotoWire podcast on Friday.
Yes,
and
sir.
Theo, what is if someone's only going to watch one thing for the rest of the week on Dynasty Week on Player Profiler, what should they tune in for?
I really can't limit that, Alan, because we've lined it up. Matt has Pat Doherty coming on tomorrow. We have Scott Connor coming on First Class Fantasy. Heath Cummings is coming on Man vs. Machine. And Alan Seslowski is coming on the Game Plan this weekend. And we have one more Dynasty Week Sonic Truth special. Next week, John Daigle will be joining us to close this thing out. Dynasty Week is so big that we had to do it in 8 days. And take a look. We got some special stuff coming out tomorrow. A number of videos coming out with our flag plant players. Matt talked about that. We got some great articles coming out. Dynasty Week is like a celebration for us. We're really, really stoked.
All right, that's the Sonic Truth Podcast. We'll be back next Tuesday with another live stream. Good luck in your Dynasty Leagues, everybody.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.